Hi, my name is Caley Africa and welcome to Heavy Chef, the platform for people that do. Today we're going to be talking to Colin Hall. Colin, say hello to everybody on the other side of the screen. At the tender age of 23, Colin joined the South African Breweries team, which later became SAB Miller, and in 2016 was bought by AB InBev for a whopping $107 billion. At the age of 29, Colin was the youngest member of the SAB team to sit on the board. You were 29 years old, right?
That's right.
Post his stint at South African Breweries, Colin went on to form Wooltrue, a holding company consisting of Woolworths, Truworths and Massmart. Colin went on to become the CEO of Wooltrue, leading a team of 50,000 people beneath him. That's 50,000. Today, we hear from Colin on 6 leadership lessons in his 60 years in the corporate realm. So Colin, firstly, thank you for your time today and for sharing of your knowledge back into the Heavy Chef community. First and foremost, who is this message of 6 leadership lessons in 60 years aimed at?
It's funny to say almost everybody, but it's anybody who cares about the effectiveness of others. So it could be teachers, it could be businessmen, it could be parents. If you care about the success of people you're responsible for, I've got things to share with you.
Why is it important that these people actually ingrain 6 lessons in 60 years?
Well, I don't think I can honestly say that it's important in the sense that I can claim to be an important person. But all I know is that if I'd learned some of these lessons when I was younger, I wouldn't have made as many mistakes as I've made.
What can people expect in 6 lessons in 60 years? Can you give us an overarching view of what these 6 lessons actually are?
Well, yes. I think about them often, so I can. The first one is the magic of the universe in which we live. When I was young, I thought that William Blake was mad when he said, "To see the earth in a grain of sand." I thought, you're nuts. The biggest thing in the world is the earth, and the smallest thing in the world is a grain of sand. And how the hell can you see one into the other? Now, I'm much wiser, and I can see that William Blake was ahead of us, and that every day, as we sit and think about it, as we look at the world, things change. Things that we thought were fixed aren't. So that's the first one, the magic of the environment in which we live and the constant changes that create opportunities and risks. The second one, without necessarily being in any order, is that my experience was that power, which I used to get to the top of SA Breweries, unashamedly, kicking butt, doesn't work now. Yeah. And you go and ask the Vice Chancellor at Cape Town University whether she can kick the students' butts, and the answer is no. Yeah. So what do you have to use to make people come with you willingly, to follow you? And I had 50-odd thousand people, and I had to lead them, and what I learned was that power doesn't work. So I want to share that learning and say what does work. Sure. The third one is that doing is dying. I put it simply because what I'm trying to say is that for most people, their work lives were about doing things. Sure. There were jobs to be done, there were menial jobs to be done, there were clerical jobs to be done, there were arithmetic jobs to be done. And now with the advent of exciting technology, most of those jobs are disappearing. So an example is if you go to the factory that makes Lexus motor cars in Tokyo, sure, you find there are 12 people working there.
Wow.
12 years ago, there were 12,000 people working there. So my concern is that we're bringing young people up with a doing mentality instead of a thinking mentality. Sure. So that would be another point that I would want to make. Another point which has been dear to my heart is the phenomenon of leopards and lions. I love the bush, and what I've observed is that people who get places because they've learned the skills of a leopard. They're independent, they fight for themselves, they win, they command a territory and all sorts of things. But in this world of extraordinarily rapid change, that doesn't work. What you have to learn is to be a lion pride. And leopards don't learn to be lions that easily. I don't think a lion would enjoy being a leopard either, but in metaphorical terms, I think one of the learnings I've had is that unless you can be a damn good leopard and a good lion at the same time,
Sure.
life's going to pass you by. So that's another one, and I think if I could just add one more,
Sure.
and that is the most fundamental perhaps, and that is that each one of us has a battery.
Sure.
We can have all sorts of nice things, we can have computers and tires and all sorts of fancy things that make a motor car, but if the battery doesn't go, the battery's not charged, the car doesn't go. So one's own energy, this power force that is so important to making everything happen, is my responsibility. It's not my boss's responsibility. It's not motivation. It's about me. And if I don't keep my battery charged, then who's going to charge it for me?
Sure.
So I think basically those would be the things I would cover.
Thank you very much.
My role as Heavy Chef is that of a storyteller and an interviewer, and I'm particularly passionate about stories because I think it's a way that a lot of people ingrain lessons. I mean, when we've sat in informal coffee gatherings and you've taught me about leopards and lions, I actually still joke around with Fred sometimes when he's acting like a leopard and tell him to come into the lion pride. So it really resonates with people. So with that in mind, I'd like to know if you could share two of the stories that you've shared with both Fred and myself in our personal capacity with the Heavy Chef audience today.
Yeah, I'd love to. I'm going to share three because I'm of a generous mind. The first was a piece of writing by Oscar Wilde. And he said, to live is the rarest thing in the world. Most people just exist. I thought, how horrible, how awful. Trouble is, he's right. And that inspired me to look at those people who just exist. Then I went to watch a movie called Shawshank Redemption with Morgan Freeman as the lead player. And Morgan Freeman was sitting in jail in Shawshank, and he was living. Every morning he woke up, he was alive, with interest, with the sun, with other people around him. And then, what was his name? Tom, I can't remember. He was sent to be in jail with him for murdering his wife, which he didn't do. And as much as Morgan Freeman tried to motivate him, come on, look at the sun, look at this, look at the other thing, he couldn't. And as he was leaving, he said to him, son, if you ain't busy living, you sure busy die. And truly, that shook me. If we're not busy living, then we're busy dying. So that's one story that has stayed with me for years and years and years. Then the second one was I was a director of SA Breweries. I was at the top of my game. And I went home one day, a little earlier than usual. And there was Stephen, my son, aged 9, surprised that I was home while the sun was still up. But it was raining, and he said, hey, Dad, what about a game? We couldn't play outside. And of all stupid things, he asked me to play Monopoly, the board game. Now, I'm the best Monopoly player in the world because I play it all day at SA Breweries. And the extraordinary thing, and I can think of it now, and it hurts me when I think about it, I didn't intend to beat him. I intended to thrash him. And in order to thrash him, to be perfectly frank, I cheated. And I won. I didn't win. I thrashed him. And while he was thinking about how it happened, and his head was shaking, he suddenly stopped and he looked me straight in the eye, and I'll never forget it. And he said to me, Dad, isn't this a game? And I thought, what he was saying to me was, isn't life a game? Do you have to play life as if it was a war? That was a huge lesson to me. And the third lesson is about lions. There's a pride of lions in Savuti that fell on hard times because of a TB infection in the buffalo herd and drought. And one day, one of the young lionesses jumped on the back of an elephant. And fortunately, there was an amateur photographer or whatever who captured this. And the sight of this young lioness on the back of an elephant is hysterical because lionesses don't hunt elephant. And she had no idea what to do with this massive thing. Now, the learning for me was, what did the rest of the lions do? They didn't say, oh, Gertrude, you silly girl, you're breaking the rules. You shouldn't be hunting elephants. There were the elephant herd coming back, trumpeting in response to the cries of this young elephant. And instead of sitting by and being critical and so on, they all went for the elephant. It's a stunning, stunning picture. They didn't kill it. They were chased off, but they'd done enough damage to maim it. They then followed up later and ate it. And they're the only pride of lions we know in the world that systematically hunts elephant. Wow. Now, for me, the excitement is that every one of us wants, in some way or another, to hunt elephant, to do something that's never been done before. So that inspired me to hunt elephant.
Now, I mean, realistically, it took you 60 years of operating within a corporate space to actually glean those lessons. So how do you plan on sharing those lessons with people within a 4-hour time span?
Well, first of all, I work with my son, Steve.
Sure.
And he's taught me that you can't teach, you have to enable people to learn.
Sure.
And the moment you get that mentality into your head, then the 4 hours becomes a learning experience, not a teaching experience. And people who are keen to learn can learn a lot in 4 hours.
Sure.
Especially if you keep the energy up. You make sure that it doesn't feel like an old double period of maths at school.
Sure.
That it's a lively, interesting experience. Then their own learning comes out. Because I really do believe that we all know it anyway. It just has to come out.
Sure, and that is exactly what the premise of Heavy Chef is built around, is creating learning experiences. So thank you very much, Colin, for your time today. If you want to see more of Colin Hall on his 6 leadership lessons in 60 years, then check out www.heavychef.com, and of course, click subscribe on this YouTube channel right over here. And that, folks, is Caley Africa signing out of the Heavy Chef YouTube channel.